I learned very quickly that alien palaces do not echo the way human buildings do. The corridor beneath my boots was grown, not built. Arched ribs of pearlescent stone curving overhead, softly pulsing with bioluminescent veins that responded to movement. Each step I took caused a faint ripple of light to chase me forward, as if the palace itself were aware of my presence and mildly displeased by it. That was understandable. I was a human standing alone in the heart of the Aurelian Hive Palace, a place no human diplomat had ever been formally invited into. And judging by the way the guards flanked me, for towering alien women clad in ceremonial armor, crests flared and mandibles tense, I wasn't exactly welcome now. The massive doors ahead of us began to part. They didn't slide. They unfolded, like petals opening in reverse, revealing the throne chamber beyond. Heat washed over me first. Not unpleasant, but heavy, saturated with pheromones and mineral scents. Then came the sound, a deep, thrumming resonance that vibrated through my chest, the low-frequency hum of the queen herself. At the far end of the chamber, elevated upon a living dais of crystal and chitin, sat Queen Zyravel of the Aurelians. She was enormous. Even seated, she towered over every being in the room. Her exoskeletal crown rose like a halo of sharpened ivory, framing eyes that glowed a molten gold. Her arms rested on the armrests of her throne, claws flexing slowly, deliberately. Her wings, vast, translucent things, were folded behind her, catching the chamber light and scattering it into rainbows. Her gaze locked onto me the instant I crossed the threshold. The guards forced me to my knees. The hum stopped. Silence pressed down so hard it felt physical. Queen Zyravel leaned forward, her voice carrying without effort, layered with authority and something far more dangerous, maternal fury. "Why," she said, each word precise and razor-sharp, "were you in my daughter's chamber human?" Every eye in the room turned to me. I swallowed, heart pounding, and reminded myself of two things. First, panic would get me killed. Second, I had done nothing wrong. It had started, as most catastrophic misunderstandings do, with a medical emergency. I wasn't a soldier or a spy. I was a xenobiologist assigned to the First Contact Support Division, specializing in comparative physiology. When the Aurelians, an all-female, hive-structured species with a rigid royal lineage, had allowed limited human presence in their system, my team had been ecstatic. They were ancient, powerful, and notoriously private, and their youngest royal, Princess Thalkera, was dying. The initial reports were classified above my clearance, but urgency has a way of loosening bureaucratic knots. Aurelian healers were brilliant with their own biology, but the princess's condition was anomalous. Cellular collapse, neural misfires, metabolic feedback loops that shouldn't have been possible in a species that had survived for millions of years. Someone noticed a pattern. The symptoms resembled a rare, human mitochondrial disorder. That someone was me. I'd been awake for 36 hours when the summons came. No pomp, no ceremony, just an escort and a warning. "Do not touch the princess unless instructed," the Aurelian envoy had said. "Do not speak unless spoken to. And do not, under any circumstances, form a psychic bond." I nodded, too tired to ask what that last part meant. They took me through back corridors, away from the public halls, deeper into the palace's living heart. The air grew warmer, richer, saturated with something intimate and fragile. The princess's chamber was nothing like the throne room. It was small, quiet, almost human. Soft luminescent growths lined the walls, their light dimmed. A shallow pool of nutrient gel surrounded a raised platform, where Princess Thalkera lay motionless. Her wings were folded tight against her body, her crest dulled to a sickly gray. Thin bioorganic filaments connected her to the chamber itself, monitoring and supporting her failing systems. She looked young, too young to be dying. The healers hovered anxiously as I approached, their mandibles clicking in agitation. I scanned her vitals, ran comparative analyses, overlaid human data onto Aurelian models. And then I saw it, a genetic anomaly. Not Aurelian. Not entirely. Her mitochondria, if the term could even be applied, were malfunctioning because they were hybrids. An ancient symbiotic adaptation, dormant for millennia, had resurfaced in her genome. It required a catalytic enzyme no longer produced by Aurelian biology. But humans still had it. Barely. In trace amounts. I looked up at the healers. She's starving at the cellular level, I said. Her body expects something it can't make anymore. They hissed softly, wings fluttering in distress. She will die? One asked. Not if we act fast, I said. But you don't have what she needs. They exchanged looks. Then one of them did something that changed my life forever. She bowed her head to me. Then you must give it to her. They didn't tell me the chamber was sacred. They didn't explain that only the queen and her bloodline were permitted entry, without ceremony. They certainly didn't mention that direct biochemical interfacing between species, especially within a royal chamber, was considered a violation bordering on sacrilege. All they cared about was that their princess lived. The procedure was crude, improvised. A controlled transfusion of engineered enzymes derived from my own cells, introduced directly into Thalkera's system. I had to be close. Very close. Close enough that when her eyes fluttered open, the first thing she saw was me. Golden eyes, unfocused but aware. She reached out, weakly, one claw brushing my sleeve. The chamber reacted instantly. Light surged. Energy pulsed. The bioorganic walls flared, responding to a resonance neither species fully understood. I felt it then. A pressure in my mind. Not pain. Not words. A presence. Princess Thalkera gasped, wings twitching, color rushing back into her crest. Her vitals stabilized. Then improved. Then surged. She lived. The healers cried out in relief. I stumbled back, dizzy, a splitting headache pounding behind my eyes. And that was when the doors exploded open. The queen had arrived, which brought me back to the present, kneeling in the throne chamber, staring up at a ruler who could tear me apart with a thought. I met Queen Zyravel's gaze and forced my voice steady. Because your daughter was dying, I said. And I was the only one who could help her. A ripple of sound swept the chamber, hisses, clicks, wing flares. The queen's claws dug into her throne. You presume much, she said coldly. My healers are unmatched. My line has endured since before your species discovered fire. Yes, your majesty, I said. And none of that changes biochemistry. Silence. I pressed on carefully. Princess Thalkera carries a dormant symbiotic adaptation, one that your species no longer supports naturally. My enzymes compensated for that failure. Without intervention, she would have suffered total systemic collapse within hours. The queen's eyes narrowed. And yet you entered her private chamber. You touched her. You allowed a bond to form. I didn't allow anything, I said honestly. I didn't even know it was possible. That was true. The presence I'd felt, the resonance, it hadn't faded. Even now, faint but unmistakable, I could sense Thalkera. Alive. Curious. Watching. A whisper brushed my thoughts. Do not be afraid. The queen's head snapped up. You hear her, she said. It wasn't a question. The chamber erupted. Weapons were raised. Energy fields crackled. The queen rose to her full height, wings spreading in a display of overwhelming dominance. "No human has ever been heard by my blood," she thundered. "Explain yourself." I took a breath. HFY, I thought grimly. This was one of those moments. Humans adapt, I said. We always have. Our strength isn't in our size or our weapons. It's in our ability to connect, to survive in impossible conditions. Your daughter's condition created a bridge between our biologies. "And you crossed it," the queen said. "Yes," I said. "To save her life." The queen stared at me for a long, terrifying moment. Then something unexpected happened. She looked past me. "Daughter," she said softly. "Speak." A shimmer of light formed beside the throne. Princess Thalkara emerged, supported by attendants, but standing on her own. Her crest glowed vibrant gold. Her wings were fully unfurled. She looked radiant. "I am alive," Thalkara said, her voice echoing in the chamber and in my mind. "Because of him." She stepped forward, unafraid, and placed herself between me and the queen. He gave of his own body, without hesitation. He endured the bond without preparation, and he did not dominate it. The queen's fury faltered, replaced by something raw and dangerous. Concern. "You were alone with him," Zyravel said. "Vulnerable." "Yes," Thalkara replied. "And safe." The word carried weight. The queen studied her daughter, truly studied her, sensing the truth through bonds older than empires. Then she turned back to me. "You violated our laws," she said. "You risked my daughter's mind and soul." I nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty." "And yet," she continued, "you saved the future of my line." The chamber waited. Queen Zyravel descended from her throne. Each step shook the floor. She stopped inches from me, towering overhead. "Rise, human," she commanded. I did. She extended one clawed hand and, to the shock of every being present, touched my chest, right over my heart. "You are bound," she said. "Not as a subject, not as a mate." A pause. "But as kin." Gasps echoed. From this day, the queen proclaimed, her voice carrying to every corner of the palace, humanity is recognized as a compatible species of the Aurelian hive. Protected, honored. Her eyes locked with mine. "And you," she added quietly, "will remain." My stomach dropped. "Remain?" "My daughter chose you as her anchor," she said. "That bond will shape her future, and ours. You will advise. You will learn. And you will answer only to me." Princess Thalkara smiled, a private warmth brushing my thoughts. "Welcome home," she whispered. I looked around the alien throne room at the impossible future unfolding before me. 15 minutes earlier, I'd been a scientist doing my job. Now, I was humanity's bridge to an ancient queen, an alien princess, and a civilization that had just learned what humans did best. We survived. We adapted. And when it mattered most, we stepped forward. The announcement rippled through the Aurelian hive like a seismic wave. Within hours, every spire of the palace pulsed with signal light, carrying Queen Zyravel's decree across the capital and into the farthest nesting moons of the system. Humans, once tolerated outsiders, carefully observed curiosities, were now something unprecedented. Compatible. Protected. Kin. The political consequences were immediate. High matrons convened emergency councils. Warrior castes demanded clarification. Religious orders argued over ancient prophecies that spoke of the small ones who endure. Trade envoys from neighboring species flooded Aurelian space, desperate to understand how a soft-skinned, short-lived species had achieved what none of them ever had. But inside the palace, away from the noise of history being rewritten, something quieter and far more important, was happening. Princess Thalkara healed. Not slowly, not partially, completely. Each day, her strength grew. Her wings regained their full span. Her psychic resonance stabilized into something new, broader, deeper, no longer confined to the rigid patterns of the Aurelian hive mind. The Queen's healers studied her endlessly, documenting every change. And every time they did, they found the same truth. The human influence hadn't weakened her. It had expanded her. I was given chambers of my own, not a cell, not a guest room, but a living space grown to accommodate my physiology. The palace adapted around me, adjusting gravity gradients, air composition, even lighting levels. It wasn't comfort for comfort's sake. It was respect. I met daily with Queen Zyravel. At first, our conversations were formal, cautious, measured like duels fought with words instead of claws. She tested me constantly, my knowledge, my honesty, my emotional resilience. I never tried to dominate the bond. That mattered more to her than anything else. "You humans are strange," she told me once, her massive form coiled near a sunlit balcony. "You possess no psychic hierarchy, no instinctive obedience structures, and yet you form loyalties stronger than any hive." "We choose them," I said. "That's the difference." She considered that for a long time. The greatest change, though, came during the trial of continuance, a ceremonial evaluation every Aurelian royal must undergo upon reaching maturity. Traditionally, it was performed alone, under the Queen's psychic oversight. This time, Thalkara requested something unprecedented. She requested me. The court erupted in outrage. The matrons protested. The ancient laws were recited with venomous precision. Queen Zyravel listened. Then she silenced them all with a single flare of her wings. "The laws exist to preserve the hive," she said, "not to strangle its future." The trial was conducted beneath the palace, in the resonance vault, a chamber older than the Queen herself. When Thalkara stepped into the center, energy surged around her, testing her will, her instincts, her right to one-day rule. And when the pressure became too much, she reached for me. Not physically. Mentally. I stood firm. I didn't command. I didn't shield. I simply stood, anchoring her through presence alone. Human psychology, resilience forged without psychic certainty, did something the vault had never encountered. It adapted. The energy stabilized. The vault accepted her. The Queen felt it. Every Aurelian felt it. When the trial ended, Thalkara emerged not just as a princess, but as something new, a ruler capable of standing alone and connected. The Queen bowed her head to her daughter, and then to me. From that day forward, the galaxy changed faster than anyone expected. Human Aurelian research coalitions formed within months. Hybrid medical protocols saved lives across species lines. Human adaptability paired with Aurelian longevity and precision reshaped entire fields of science and diplomacy. Other species took notice. Some with hope, some with fear, but none could deny the truth. Humanity hadn't conquered anything. We hadn't demanded power. We had simply been ourselves, fragile, stubborn, compassionate, and endlessly adaptable. And that had been enough. On my final evening before my first off-world diplomatic journey as the Queen's appointed liaison, I stood with Thalkara on the palace balcony. Stars stretched endlessly before us, alien constellations that now felt strangely familiar. "You could have gone home," she said softly, "when my life stabilized, when the danger passed." "I know," I replied. "Why didn't you?" I smiled, looking out at the galaxy that had once seemed so hostile. "Because humans don't just survive," I said. "We stay. We build. We protect what matters." She reached out, her presence warm and steady beside mine. "You changed my people," she said. "No," I corrected gently. "You were already changing. I just helped you survive long enough to do it." Below us, the hive glowed, alive, ancient and evolving. Somewhere beyond the stars, humanity watched nervously, unaware that one of their own now stood at the heart of an empire older than Earth's oceans. An empire that had learned, perhaps for the first time, what humans had always known. That strength wasn't domination. It was endurance. And the future belonged to those willing to adapt together.